Good evening, everyone. Thanks a lot for joining us tonight for our UCAN for Beginners talk show. I'm Varun Sriram with Generation UCAN, and thrilled to be joined by my friend Seth Bronheim, registered dietitian for UCAN. Seth, how you doing tonight?
Doing great. Doing great.
Very good. Well, we definitely want to explore a bunch of topics surrounding UCAN and exercise and fitness with the audience today and answer your questions as well. So for those of you that are new to this and haven't been on one of these with us, Seth and I, we like to keep this conversational. We like to keep this interactive. We will have some slides that we're going to be presenting to you and talking to you guys about, but please feel free to fire away your questions at us. We'll do our best to answer all of them. We got a great crowd on hand tonight, and if you have a specific question, you want to come on and chat with us, let us know. I can bring you on, and you can talk right into your computer or phone, however you're following along. So with that, Seth, before we get started kind of into the meat of things, I wanted to tease people with this great Facebook post from, I guess it's a little over a year ago now, but this is Amanda Monahan. She's a trainer. Is that right, Seth?
Yeah, trainer and registered dietitian, yes.
So she starts us out with the top 10 reasons to use Generation UCAN, many of which we'll talk about more specifically today, but I'll just go through them really quickly. Pre-workout to burn more fat, post-workout to avoid carb and sugar cravings later on, between meals so you can stop at 80% full. I know a lot of us would benefit from being able to do that. Pre, during, and post-endurance events to increase fat burn and avoid GI distress. This one, I like this one a lot. We'll get to this a little bit more. Give to your husband to wean off a pre-workout supplement that's terrible for his adrenal glands. Take before a meeting or presentation so you can be mentally sharp and avoid falling asleep. Give to a client so they don't end their session early due to being nauseous and lightheaded. Have a serving before social events and happy hour to avoid unnecessary snacks and appetizers. After dinner to avoid late night munchies and help with sleep. And finally, UCAN can help the transition to a low carb diet so you don't chew your arm off due to carb withdrawals or sabotage yourself eating 10 cookies. So Seth, in looking at these kind of wide diverse uses of UCAN that Amanda talks about, one thing that kind of stands in common with everything that we see here is they're all tied into the idea of keeping blood sugar stable, which is really paramount to what we're going to talk about today. As a dietitian yourself, Seth, how important is that idea of controlling our blood sugar and keeping our blood sugar steady, no matter what our goals might be?
Well, I think most people think about this word blood sugar and they immediately think, it's about diabetes, right? Because general mainstream education, people don't really worry about their blood sugar getting too high or blood sugar issues unless they have diabetes or a family member has diabetes. They might hear from a family friend, I'm on this medication to help my blood sugar. And the key thing that we have to realize is that the key to actually managing your energy, it's not sexy, but it's by managing your blood sugar. When your energy drops, it's usually related to blood sugar. And if you've had a high sugar meal and you feel great for half an hour or so, and then you start to wean down over the next hour, that's related to the swings in your blood sugar. So really the key to managing your energy is very much about through the sciences, through managing your blood sugar. We only have a small amount of sugar actually in our bloodstream, and if it leaves the bloodstream too quickly or it gets in the bloodstream too quickly, we're going to have issues.
So blood sugar and blood sugar management, is at the center of a lot of things we're going to talk about today, and it's really at the center of the UCAN products and the story behind UCAN. So just taking a couple brief minutes, Seth, the story behind UCAN, it really started with an effort to manage blood sugar, but for a very different reason than what we're going to talk about today. What was that?
Yeah, so UCAN was actually meant for infants, that if they weren't fed every 2 hours, they wouldn't live. This was meant for the worst case scenario. So if there are those folks out there that 3 o'clock in the afternoon their energy dips, this is the type of disease where if energy drops too much and blood sugar drops too much, these infants wouldn't live. They have a rare disease where they can't use the carbs in their liver to give them energy. What a lot of us might not realize is that you store energy in two parts of you store carbs in your body in really two areas, in your muscles or in your liver. But your liver is actually the only stored form of carb that can feed your brain. So these kids can't do this. Before the 70s, they didn't survive. Then yet they started using cornstarch in the 70s as a solution, but it's fast acting, requires multiple doses. And our founder's wife, Wendy, she was waking up, multiple times a night, with an alarm clock to feed Jonah every 2 hours. And it's a life by the clock. It's lots of stress. So the original intention of UCAN was for Jonah to have it before bed, and it would manage his blood sugar throughout the night, slowly release, and keep him asleep 8 hours. That was the original intention of the company. No clue this would morph into having huge implications for energy and fitness, weight loss, and even diabetes.
And really, the key for Jonah, and also the key ingredient in what are now the UCAN products, which has all those tremendous implications that we looked at in the first slide, talking about the top 10 reasons to use UCAN. The key behind all of this is what we call superstarch. So, as we were talking, Steph was talking about blood sugar response. In terms of the macronutrient that has the biggest impact on blood sugar, it is carbohydrates. And carbohydrates are a nutrient we need for energy, but they're also a nutrient where the wrong types of carbs can have a really adverse negative impact in a lot of ways on our energy, on our health, on our fitness. And with Jonah, the genetic defect he was going through was a struggle to process and convert your traditional carbs to glucose to give him energy. So Seth, what is this superstarch, and why is it so unique?
So the ingredient superstarch, we start off with non-GMO corn, and then that's the only similarity this has to corn. What happens next is that it's cooked for actually over 40 hours with just heat and water. There's no enzymes, there's no chemicals, but the way this is cooked actually allows the structure to break down slowly. So very much kind of acting like a fiber, but it's actually absorbed as energy. One of the things is that there's lots of things, that are healthy for you that aren't going to spike your blood sugar, or are going to be healthy for you. Think about broccoli or even a cup of raspberries, all different types of vegetables, but they don't actually convert to steady energy over time and managing blood sugar over time. They just might not spike your blood sugar and might help you stay full in the stomach. So the way this is cooked allows the superstarch to release over time, and that's really the uniqueness. It's the ability to release energy over time, which is not only managing your energy, but like we were talking about before, it's also managing your blood sugar.
So Jonah was initially using this when the superstarch came about to help him manage his energy over a long period of time to sleep throughout the night to prevent those blood sugar crashes. But early founders of the company started wondering what would happen if everyday people without this rare disease, what if they started using it, whether it's for workouts, just to manage their energy throughout the day. And that's really when through this study that UCAN really became the superstarch, became part of the UCAN products and available for that purpose for people to use on a daily basis for a variety of reasons. So what we're looking at here is a comparison between 25 grams of superstarch and 25 grams of maltodextrin, which is a traditional, typical, fast-acting carb that you find in a number of sports nutrition products. It's as used, I guess, as a thickening agent or flavoring agent in a lot of foods as well. You'll see it in a lot of packaged foods. So, maltodextrin, which is viewed by a lot as the quote-unquote complex carbohydrate in a lot of products on the market, compared to superstarch, it's vastly different in terms of the energy that it's providing you. Seth, what can you say about what we're seeing on the screen?
Yeah, so if you look at the red line, I mean, that's UCAN's blood sugar curve. And when I first saw this, I just thought to myself, I want that red line. Many of us, whether you're trying to go from breakfast to lunch without feeling hungry an hour after your breakfast, or you're looking to really keep your energy steady during a workout. Fact is, we all want that red line, and it might be easy to have a banana before exercise, or have a banana at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, or for breakfast, because it's easy. But it's not going to sustain you, and it's going to give you a similar curve to what that blue maltodextrin is showing. So that maltodextrin is very much as showing how, it's a normal carb that's going to spike your blood sugar, which is what most carbs do. And because of UCAN's structure, because of how it breaks down slowly, it then enters your bloodstream slowly over time. So you're getting little bits of energy over time, really matching the rate your brain and your body need fuel, not overloading your body at once and then trying to store the rest away, which happens with most typical carbohydrates, which is why some low carb experts are big fans of UCAN. They've always tried to avoid carbs, but they've never had that solution to have a carb that does what we actually want it to do, which is release over time rather than a bunch of energy at once.
And Seth, you raised this point before. So someone might say, okay, buy into the fact that you don't want to spike your blood sugar. So I want you to reiterate this in the context of looking at this graph on the screen. But that person might say, okay, so why might I not have a cup of broccoli or some raspberries, or why might I just not have even a scoop of protein powder, without any carbohydrate? That won't spike my blood sugar like the maltodextrin. So again, what would be different about consuming, whether it's a 15 to 20 gram scoop of whey protein with no carbs before a workout, or a cup of broccoli, or a cup of raspberries before a workout? What would look different about this graph?
Right. So, I think that the fact is that when you look at it's the way that UCAN extends blood sugar over time. So you would see in this curve, you wouldn't see a spike because these things aren't really absorbed well. Like, for example, raspberries, it's got a tiny bit of sugar, but its majority is fiber, right? I think there's 8 or 9 grams of fiber in 1 cup of raspberries, and broccoli, like a cup of broccoli, is probably like not even 50 calories, again, it's got 2 or 3 grams of fiber. So it's that the fibrous foods, they curb hunger in the stomach, but it's like an hour after, if you have just a very high fiber meal, your stomach will be really full, but your brain's going to be hungry because you haven't had absorbable nutrients and absorbable energy. So what UCAN is doing, it's breaking down over time, but it's delivering the energy your brain needs. It's not just the fiber that's not getting absorbed. And even if you look at things like protein powder, a lot of people think, oh, I should have just a scoop of protein powder. Maybe it's before workout, because they know that the odds of protein being stored as fat is very small, right? It's burned off as energy more. Protein also, the only way protein actually helps with blood sugar is that on the back end, protein breaks down into these smaller units called amino acids, and then those amino acids are then sent to your liver, and then depending on what your body needs, you'll convert some of those amino acids back into glucose for your bloodstream. And so you're working on a back end. Think about all those ways that protein has to end up helping your blood sugar, whereas UCAN is a direct source of energy. Out of your intestine, the next step is into your bloodstream over time. And it's really, the beauty of it is that it's slowly absorbing the way we want it to. And that's why, a lot of people have toast with eggs for breakfast, but a lot of times toast is for taste. And, anytime I'm looking at toast, I'm thinking, oh man, I wish that toast acted like you can, because I want those carbs to deliver me energy over 3 hours. I don't want it to be just something that I'm eating for taste, and an hour later, I want those carbs again.
So, in kind of describing how UCAN works and what separates it from other types of carbs, the origins of it, let's kind of dive right into using the product in different ways to benefit from it. So I think, Seth, the first place to really start is talking about UCAN as a pre-exercise food choice. And there's a lot of benefits to using UCAN in this way: maintaining blood sugar during exercise, allowing for stored fat to be burned, and curbing hunger after exercise. We'll get into all of these a little bit more, but I want to put on the screen just a post on Facebook earlier today, from another personal trainer and dietitian, Tony Stephen. Hopefully you guys can see it here on the screen. And Seth, you with the training background and a nutrition background as well, I'm sure you would agree with Tony, who says the question I get asked the most is, what should I eat before a workout? Just generally speaking, Seth, in your experience, how much of a struggle is that for people to know what's right, or to find time to plan and consume what's right before a workout?
Yeah, I mean, it's very tough. First off, timing a meal before you work out. The next thing is, a lot of people who are actually working during the day, they try to either squeeze in workouts before work or after work. So if it's in the morning, it's, some people just have a cup of coffee and are on their way, but, they're primed to really have some blood sugar issues or be hungry, especially after a workout. One thing people don't realize is that what you consume before you work out can have a significant impact on how you feel after your workout. Um, and then if people are struggling to get a workout in the evening, it's like, okay, do I have dinner before, or what do I have before? Because I'm not going to have a whole dinner and then go work out. So it's really tough timing a meal before a workout and having energy before a workout. That's the big struggle.
And Seth, one of the comments, if whether people can follow along on the screen, or I'll read it as well on Tony's post about what to eat before a workout. There's someone that says, I always struggle with this. A banana on the way to the gym just doesn't do the trick sometimes. And we see this so often, people grabbing foods that are quick and convenient. A banana. I was talking to my friend the other day, and he's telling me that he grabs a chocolate covered granola bar before, because that's what they have, in the break room at work before he goes to work out at the gym in the evening. So really the quick and convenient things, excuse me, that we normally find and grab are all filled with sugar and are really not ideal before a workout. And Tony responds, I used to smash 2 bananas and felt even worse. I always debated with Seth that UCAN wasn't enough carbs for me pre-workout, but once I started taking it, I felt amazing. Seth, do you remember that conversation with Tony? And for people that have that general thought where, like, a scoop of UCAN isn't going to be enough, what do you say to them?
Well, those folks that are really trying to have a certain amount of, they're trying to balance their macros. They're trying to have a certain amount of carbs before a workout. And if you think about it, one scoop of UCAN is only 20 grams of carb, right? Think about, we talked about this before. Like, you think about, like, how little that is, right? It's barely a half a cup of rice. That's barely a half a cup of oatmeal. Um, one slice of bread is 15 grams of carb itself usually. Um, so the fact is that now people, now Tony's made the comment that, wow, look how much you get for 20 grams of carb. It's 80 calories, and if you have this in between meals, first off, it can last you 3 hours, but no one would ever think that a half a cup of rice could give you 3 hours of energy. And then, people before a workout, they're trying to maybe have 40 grams of carb and, trying to figure out how many carbs they can get away with to, because carbs have been thought to have an anabolic property and helping with muscle building, or, that you need that energy. So a lot of people sip on carbs, and so it's interesting, right? It's like we're only giving you 20 grams of carb, yet we're giving you the right rate of energy. So it's not about the amount of carb; it's how they're delivered over time.
And that's a key, whether it's somebody like Tony who's used to kind of calculating what he believes he needs, or when we talk to endurance athletes. I know we don't want to get too right now too far down that road, but when we talk about endurance athletes thinking, oh, I normally take in 300 calories per hour on the bike for my long distance triathlons, it's people are conditioned to kind of thinking they need what they need based on the traditional carbs that are available, your fast acting, high glycemic, sugar based carbs. So you can really, in a lot of ways, is going to change the way you think about a lot of these things. And frankly, the best way to figure it out is experimentation. But let's talk a little bit about, kind of what we recommend, at least in terms of getting started. So really, in terms of the UCAN products, the regular generation UCAN drink mix, is one of the best ways to start in terms of utilizing UCAN before a pre-workout. So this comes in a whole variety of flavors, 6 different flavors. There's also a plain flavor, and it comes in packets and tubs. So the main ingredient in all of the UCAN drink mixes is the superstarch. That's where all the calories come from, and depending on whether you have the packet or the tub, you're going to get between 18 to about 30 grams of carb per serving, about 80 to 130 calories per serving. The packet is about a scoop and a half worth the tub. So the tub is that smaller serving size. When we talk about UCAN in terms of using it, this is not a hydration product. This is not a sports drink that you sip on. One of the ways I've liked to refer to it recently is calling it liquid food. This is really your pre-exercise snack. The delivery method is with water, at least for the UCAN powders, but it's not at all to be considered a sports drink. You can mix it up with 4 ounces of water per serving, 8 ounces, 10 ounces. One of the really cool things about the superstarch, just in terms of the molecular structure, is it gets out of your stomach very quickly, digests very easily. So again, this is not a traditional sugar-based carb where you need X ounces of water in order to aid digestion and help it pass through your stomach. This is something that on its own, with minimal amounts of water, digests really easily. So, that you can, it's if you're somebody that's used to protein powders or any types of shakes, you're not going to think twice. The texture is a little bit starchy. You want to give it a good hard shake. Mix it up with some cold water and drink it 30 minutes prior to any type of exercise, whether it's, a 5 or 6 mile run, hour lift, high intensity work. It doesn't matter, right, Seth? I want to get back to you here. A lot of people wonder, like, do I want that steady state, steady blood sugar state for my endurance exercise? And then if I'm doing something more explosive, do I want that spike? But, how important, regardless of the type of workout, is keeping blood sugar steady.
Yeah, I mean, Bob Seabar always said this, you don't need a spike in energy to create peak performance. As long as you can maintain your blood sugar, you can maintain peak performance. And I know a lot of people think, oh, if they're doing a high intensity workout and it's only 15 minutes, people will say, oh, don't you want that spike? But there's two things, right? The first off is that when you start exercising at a high intensity, you're going to get a lot of sugar in your bloodstream from having that fast acting spike, whatever it's, if it's a sugar-based sports drink, some type of protein carb drink that's got a lot of fast-acting carbs. Your muscle cells open up to accept fuel when you're exercising. And so, if you're taking a lot of sugar, it's going to go right into your muscle cell, and then you're going to have a high and then a low. And so it's great that you maybe, pour all the sugar into your muscle cell, but the fact is that you're also going to have that low feeling after you work out. And it's just not necessary. It's not necessary to spike your blood sugar. Isn't it interesting that the reason we have muscle glycogen is to use it for things like sprinting, and we want that glucose, we want that carbohydrate to be right near our muscles to use it. So there's a reason why you store carbs in your muscles, to use them. So why would you need to spike your blood sugar and intake so much fuel for that quick acting energy? You have it in your muscle cell, and the better in shape you are, the more you grow your muscle glycogen. And what UCAN is the stabilizer. We are stabilizing your blood sugar, so your brain is fed a little bit of energy over time to keep your brain happy. And then we're also allowing your body to use the carbs in your muscle cell, and at the same time, we're allowing your body to burn fat as fuel too. So for the low intensity portions and for certain portions of your exercise, you'll switch between fuels, between using fat as energy and carb as energy, depending on your intensity. So we're setting your body up perfectly to use fuel the way your body would naturally intend it to. If you spike your blood sugar, all of a sudden you're locked into really burning carbs, and you can't really burn fat either.
So, Steph, let's take a really kind of real world look at something someone might eat before a workout and then compare it to UCAN and look at the effect. So, that easy comparison, you take a scoop of our tropical orange UCAN and you compare it to a Cliff Bar, the chocolate brownie flavor. And one of the interesting things to see is, this kind of fits into like the conversation we were having before about how with UCAN, less is really more. After you've had a full day of work, you're going to the gym, you might kind of just grab that bar and say, hey, I'm a little hungry. I want to eat this. And, even with the Cliff Bar, you're looking at this idea that the notion that having protein can help balance out the carbs and not spike you as much. So they put 9 grams of protein in there in addition to the carbs. But let's look really at the response during exercise. And Seth, I'm going to let you take the lead here. What are we seeing in terms of the difference between how the Cliff Bar acts versus how a scoop of the UCAN acts?
Right, and remember, just from comparing the calories, UCAN is 1/3 the calories of that Cliff Bar. So it's a huge impact. So if you look at this blood sugar response, and you look at the Cliff Bar, because as you mentioned, there's a little bit of fiber, there's protein, there's a little bit of fat. It's balancing out that, it's slowing down that initial blood sugar spike. So instead of, maybe normal sugar would take that 75 milligrams per deciliter where we're starting off with that Cliff Bar, maybe up to 120. It only goes up to 100 because of the fat, the fat and the protein and fiber, slowing it down. So got our 25 milligram rise in blood sugar from 75 to 100. But in the first 15 minutes of exercise, this always fascinates me that blood sugar drops from 100 down to 62. And if you think about that, just like we were talking about before, once you start exercising, your muscle cell receptors open up to taking glucose. But if you have that initial blood sugar rise, what's also happening is that this hormone insulin gets released, and then the hormone insulin basically saying, okay, we've got this sugar in the bloodstream because you ate this fast-acting Cliff Bar. Now we got to get it out of the bloodstream. And at the same time, your muscle cell receptors are saying, hey, we're working out. We need that sugar from the bloodstream too. So you got two things going on here that are causing your blood sugar to drop, which is why the body overcompensates, and now you're down at 62. No one wants to feel that drop when they exercise.
And
And then your
Seth,
body,
to interrupt you just on
yeah,
that point, so this was obviously done right in a lab setting in a study. So that these people they have to continue, they have to stop. But when we're just speaking practically, for a lot of people, when you have that huge drop in blood sugar within the first 15 to 20 minutes of exercise, I mean, if you're training by yourself or working out by yourself, that's when a lot of people are just going to say, you know what, I don't have it today. You cut the workout short, right? Or you say, okay, I'm going to maybe do 20 minutes instead of 45 minutes like I was planning. Like, what is the real world impact of feeling that big drop
well,
within the first 15 minutes of exercise?
what's funny is so it's January, right? And everybody's getting back into the gym, and a lot of people who maybe haven't worked out in a month or so are getting back into it. And a lot of people are feeling this whole idea of exercise-induced low blood sugar. Fact is that if you're out of shape, you don't have that glycogen I was talking about for your muscle cells to use. It's at a low level. So your body's going to pull sugar from your bloodstream into your muscle cell at a faster rate to compensate for the fact that you're out of shape, really, and your body needs more energy in your muscle cell. And it's interesting. I was on the phone with a fitness club in Tennessee today, and all the personal trainers at the club were joking because so many people were kind of having low energy, and they were saying, got to get that person some UCAN. Oh, that person needs some UCAN. Because it's January, right? People are out of shape right now, getting back into the gym. And fact is that if you look at this curve here, when you have low blood sugar, you are fatigued. Your brain is basically not being fed, so your brain is like, your brain is lacking that motivation. And what UCAN is really doing, it's allowing your blood sugar to stay steady and avoid that drop in blood sugar. And it's that drop in blood sugar that causes that fatigue, and it's that drop in blood sugar that causes that hunger during and after you work out. And UCAN is avoiding that. It's managing your energy and curbing your hunger after you work out. And the first thing someone usually feels who's been out of shape and getting back into the gym, they're like, wow, I couldn't believe I wasn't hungry after I worked out.
So, that's the one of the key times we talked about it, but using the UCAN powders in that manner as your pre-exercise fuel source, just from an energy standpoint, to have better workouts, to feel better during your workout, to enjoy your workout more, and to be able to have something that's convenient and not going to sit heavy in your stomach. These are all huge, huge reasons to use UCAN. And I know we have a lot of endurance athletes in the crowd. One thing we really want to stress is UCAN isn't like your traditional, your Hammer Nutritions or your Infinites or your Goos. This is not your traditional sugar-based endurance fuel. You're going to get tremendous benefit out of using a scoop of UCAN, 80 calories of UCAN for your workouts during the week, because that's really when you're banking your fitness. So many times we focus on our race or on our long weekend workouts, and that's absolutely a great time to use UCAN as well. But utilizing UCAN throughout the week to be able to have better workouts, more productive workouts, and become a more efficient and fit athlete, that's really the key here. And that's something that Seth and I really wanted to focus on today, is just that idea that even for the endurance athlete, those long workouts are such a minuscule part of building your overall fitness. I shouldn't say minuscule, but they're not the majority, and they're certainly not the majority of time spent training. So it's just a different way to look at UCAN, even if you are somebody that skews more towards endurance, especially at this time of the year, like Seth just talked about. This time of the year when really you might not be training for a specific event, but you're really just trying to get yourself to a level of fitness that'll set you up for a good season. This is a great time to get started with UCAN. Seth, one of the other things I just wanted to touch on in terms of UCAN, utilizing UCAN as a pre-exercise food, you talked a little bit about, and we introduced this idea at the beginning, that UCAN allows you to better burn fat during exercise. And, even as I'm talking to some of the endurance athletes, becoming a better fat burner throughout your workouts during the week, that's something that's in a big way going to contribute to making you more efficient when you're going long and not relying on as many external carbs and sugars. But what can you say, Seth, about the insulin response of UCAN, and what does that exactly mean when you contrast it to other energy sources?
Right. So if you're having that Cliff Bar before you work out, a banana, that bowl of cereal, those carbs are entering your bloodstream at a pretty fast rate, and your body's basically going, "Hey, I got all this sugar in my blood. Don't burn fat right now. Burn the sugar first." Insulin is this hormone telling your body, "Hey, get those carbs out of your bloodstream and go store them away." At the same time, insulin is basically saying exactly this. It's saying, you got all this energy in your bloodstream. Don't burn fat right now. Why would you ever really need to burn fat if you've got all this sugar in your bloodstream ready to be used? Because UCAN releases slowly, we actually showed it. These are trials done at University of Oklahoma on trained athletes hooked up to metabolic carts and blood draws. You can see here that red line at the bottom, that flat lined, that's our insulin response. It's extremely low. So we're not blocking your ability to burn fat. We're not talking about a fat burner you would buy at GNC. We're talking about, the fact is when you exercise, you should be able to burn fat. But if you take in those carbs like bananas or cereals or bagels, you're blocking your ability to burn fat. So UCAN is naturally allowing your body to burn fat because the carb releases slowly, managing your blood sugar. Now, if you ate nothing before you worked out, you would be able to burn fat, but you wouldn't have the steady energy. With UCAN, we're giving you the steady energy, but at the same time, allowing you to also burn the fat as fuel that you should naturally be able to, but you wouldn't be able to if you had that bagel, if you had that cereal. And, one other point going back to your thought on those long workouts, the fact is that, listen, people are using UCAN, and we've had folks who are going to the gym and doing 30 minutes of weights, follow maybe like a 15-minute metabolic finisher or a 15 minutes of spread meal trends. This is people use a scoop of UCAN before that 45-minute to hour workout, and the beauty is that it's keeping your blood sugar steady, it's allowing you to tap into fat stores and burn fat, and it's curbing your hunger afterward. So for those endurance athletes, you don't have to just you don't have to save UCAN for those long workouts. It could create a great training effect even in the off season for those shorter workouts and runs.
Great summary, Seth. You pretty much said it all. So, one of the things you were talking about prior to this is that idea of exercise-induced low blood sugar. And, kind of the next thing to explore as we talk about nutrition surrounding workouts is this idea of ravenous post-workout hunger, right? So many times you get through a hard workout, and if you haven't fueled properly, it's not so much you might be able to get through that workout without perhaps suffering, or you might just be able to push through. But the question you have to ask yourself is, what's the impact after the workout? And one of the big things that people experience when they have that post-workout low blood sugar is that ravenous, that Cookie Monster type of hunger. What is the relationship there?
So the fact is that when blood sugar drops, you've been draining your glycogen in your body. So, that those carbs that you store away, especially in your liver, those are getting broken down into your bloodstream and helping your body during the workout. And when those are done, when you depleted that glycogen, or your blood sugar drops because you're using the fuel because you don't have that consistent fuel source that UCAN gives you, your blood sugar drops and your brain's going, hey, sugar's low, time to eat again. And that's what's really going on. Your body's saying, refeed me. And for a lot of people, that response is very powerful post-workout. And it's kind of either people feel like very hungry for the next like 6 hours. They might, because of like maybe some lactic acid or that post-workout feeling, maybe the first half an hour, you got a little bit of that nausea. It's been an intense workout, but then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, I'm pretty hungry. So, people have used, UCAN before workout, and it's helped avoid that impulse type hunger. And some people do get on a very good regimen of simply a scoop of UCAN, like that tropical orange you had mentioned before workout, And then they'll hit up, the protein enhanced UCAN, the vanilla cream UCAN with a little bit of protein after a workout, and that's helping manage that blood sugar post workout until they have a meal. So it's locking yourself into that regimen is almost also a controlling hunger regimen too.
So from that controlling hunger standpoint, another one of the UCAN products that we'll talk about a few different uses of it is the UCAN snack bars. So the UCAN snack bars, five different flavors of the bars, and you really want to think of these as more of a steady energy bar rather than a protein, a traditional protein bar. So again, what's unique about the UCAN snack bars is that the dominant carbohydrate is superstarch. So it's a bar that promotes the stabilization of blood sugar. Right? We looked at that Cliff Bar example earlier. That certainly is not a bar that promotes the stabilization of blood sugar. Right? That's something that's giving you that spike, and then you're dropping pretty quickly. The UCAN snack bars are something that keep you very steady, very low in sugar, 170 to 190 calories per bar, roughly 5 to 6 grams of protein per bar, depending on the flavor, some fiber and fat. These are great options immediately after a workout. If you know you can't get a meal in you for an hour and a half, or you're going to go home and you want to prepare a meal and you need something to act as a bridge between, to help prevent you from making those poor choices, the UCAN snack bars are really effective to be used in this situations. And really with the superstarch in the UCAN snack bars, it comes back to delivering that steady energy both for your brain as well as for your body. Seth talked about the impact of keeping your blood sugar stable on the brain and really curbing that ravenous hunger, that low blood sugar hunger, which can often be dictated and driven by your brain. And the UCAN snack bars, they're a great way to really avoid this. Seth, how have you, in your experience, seen people implementing the UCAN snack bars perhaps most commonly?
Right. So before I get to that, I just want to, piggyback on the point you just made. The fact is that most people, when they see a protein bar with 20 grams of protein and 15 to 20 grams of fiber, these protein and fiber bars, they really only curb hunger in the stomach. Protein and fiber really only curb hunger in the stomach. They're not curbing that hunger in the brain. And what you can is these snack bars are designed to do is the fat, the fiber, and the little bit of protein, that's going to quiet down that stomach hunger. But the fact that the UCAN is slowly releasing to manage your blood sugar, and it's avoiding that drop in blood sugar that causes your brain to want to eat. And that's why it's very much a bar to curb hunger in the stomach, but also in the brain. It's that key curbing hunger in the brain. And in terms of usage, these really have been acting as a bridge between meals. You think about someone who's waking up, they might have some eggs and fruit for breakfast, and then they're looking for a way to bridge breakfast and lunch together. That 10 a.m., 11 a.m. snack, because sometimes you don't know if lunch will be at 12, 1, or 2. A snack bar can really curb that hunger in between those meals. And people have also, been having the snack bars, again in that mid-afternoon area, again as a bridge between meals. It's a way to manage your blood sugar and to have a way to carry yourself through meals, versus kind of people have that handful of almonds and then all of a sudden they're hungry an hour later. We want to avoid that, and that's what the snack bar is doing. People also have. Go ahead, Varn.
No, Seth, I was going to, on that point on a bridge between meals, right? So if you kind of think of, there's a million different bars out there, and you kind of think of them as maybe being in two categories, right? You've got your one family of bars that are relatively high in sugar, and they're marketing themselves as energy bars or endurance bars, and that example of the Cliff Bar we gave it, you can see why the superstarch, a product with superstarch, would be superior in terms of the energy response it provides. But this other category of bars that aren't very high in sugar, that really are acting as a bridge between meals, whether they're high in protein or there's something like a Quest bar that are high in fiber. I just wanted to take a couple minutes just for you to share kind of how the UCAN snack bar might compare to those types of bar. If we look specifically at a Quest bar as an example, how is this behaving a little bit differently from a bar that isn't very high in sugar and maybe very high in fiber as the primary carb?
Right. So if you look at, the UCAN snack bar, this is, using the chocolate peanut butter UCAN snack bar. I mean, blood sugar barely moves, right? The fat, the fiber, the protein, and then also the superstarch. It's really slowly releasing, and you've got that key superstarch to slowly release. And that's the big thing is that you feel an effect from these bars, from a UCAN snack bar. You feel that superstarch in you. You feel that blood sugar management. If you have a protein fiber bar, it's like, oh, okay, um, I'm full. I ate that. It was a little chewy, and then you move on. It's not providing that kind of feeling, that focus, that steadiness, that steady energy. That's all coming about because of the slow release to manage blood sugar. Again, blood sugar management is not just for diabetics. It's the key to energy. The Quest bar, for whatever reason, the combination of fiber and protein, um, did cause a blood sugar rise, 88 milligrams to 112, but then right back down to 92. And, I remember this, this was, you're at 89, feeling like, I could eat, but I don't have to. At 76, it's like, oh, I really need to eat something. It's that drop in blood sugar. So, protein has been known as the cure-all, but the fact is that it's the slow release superstarch in UCAN that's really causing stability in your blood sugar. And if you can feel that during your day, that's what's powerful. If you have a snack bar at 4 o'clock, you're not coming home and thinking about dinner, right away, or looking at stress-based foods. Your balanced blood sugar is allowing your brain to really just feel even and not need to eat. And that's the beauty of it.
So the UCAN snack bars, we've talked about them kind of more in the context of using them to curb hunger and using them as a bridge between meals. Just in summary, you can certainly use them before a workout as well. So you're going to get that same idea of keeping your blood sugar steady throughout the workout. That's an application. But then, a couple other great ways to use them as a mid-morning snack to curb hunger before lunch. Similarly, mid-afternoon, so you're not going into dinner with low blood sugar. Or if you have an evening workout, you're going in there again, not scrambling 30 minutes before the workout. My blood sugar is low. What should I eat that's quick and convenient? And really using it anytime where you have cravings, sugar cravings, carbohydrate cravings. Using the UCAN snack bar, like Seth mentioned, these are not bars that are just going to be chewy and kind of fill your stomach up. There's really a purpose in terms of the blood sugar response and the steadiness that you'll feel when you're using them in these ways.
Yeah.
Seth, I think, go ahead.
I was just talking to a personal trainer today who was talking to me about a client they had that was having, diabetes in a wrapper, they were saying, because they were always having these kind of sugary snacks in the afternoon. And this client has actually, we're talking about the snack bar. It's obviously convenient. In this case, this client was having a scoop of just UCAN by itself, no added protein, just having like a scoop of our Cocoa Delight UCAN, for example, in between breakfast and lunch, and again between lunch and dinner. She was telling the trainer I spoke today, I haven't had any need for those diabetes in a wrapper. She was saying, it's those sugar cravings really drop, because we need to realize sugar cravings come about a lot of the time because you're not managing your blood sugar. So it was interesting to hear that today.
That's really, I think we've heard that time and time again in terms of what you're saying about the cravings from people just focusing on managing their blood sugar and kind of using UCAN as a tool that way. It really can have a large impact. Seth, the last kind of segment I want to get to and product I want to talk about in that context is the UCAN with protein. So, thus far we've talked about using UCAN for workouts, certainly to fuel workouts, and both kind of using different UCAN products surrounding the workouts. We've talked about the UCAN bars being a tool as kind of a bridge between meals and to curb cravings at different times of the day. With the UCAN with protein, one of the ways I want to kind of talk about it is in the context of using it as a meal replacement shake, and certainly if you're somebody that's looking to use UCAN in a way, again, to improve your health, to manage your weight, the UCAN with protein has some significant applications in that regard. So just in terms of the nuts and bolts, what is the actual product? So just like the Generation UCAN drink mix. The UCAN with protein also has superstarch as the carbohydrate in the product, the dominant carb. Most of the carbs in this are from superstarch. So you're going to get the same steady energy benefit and effect from the UCAN with protein that you get with the Generation UCAN drink mixes. Now, the difference here is that we just add protein on top. So this comes in two flavors, chocolate and vanilla, and it's got added protein, 13 grams of protein per packet, and I think roughly 8 grams of protein per scoop. So depending on the serving size, you're going to get about 100 to closer to 180 actually calories per serving, the packet being the larger serving size, the scoop being smaller. So, certainly one of the simple applications of UCAN, sorry about that, simple applications of the UCAN with protein is as a post-workout, as a recovery product, to continue burning fat and as a healthier way to recover without sugar. So let's just spend a moment on that, Seth. A typical recovery drink, something, chocolate milk, right? We've heard time and time again, kind of been beaten over the head that that's got the 4-to-1 carb to protein ratio. It's great for recovery. But what's the issue in terms of using a recovery drink that has, 20 to 25 grams of sugar in it, combined with the protein?
Right, so it's the same thing we've been talking about. It's the fact that even post workout, people have thought about wanting to recover quickly and restore glycogen quickly. But again, if you're taking in a fast acting carb with some protein and it's going into your muscle cell right away, that means it's not spending enough time in your bloodstream. It means your blood sugar is not managed. So half an hour after you have that chocolate milk, boom, you're hungry again, and for those folks that are really looking to lose body fat and get leaner, the last thing you need is added hunger on top of already being hungry probably. So people have used UCAN post workout the same way it's used as meal replacement. It's a way to manage blood sugar post workout, curb hunger, and be a slow release fuel for the body. The same way you could have eggs in the morning and then have a UCAN shake on the side, just with a scoop of like the Cocoa Delight UCAN blended with some ice. People have thrown some coffee in there to make it like an iced mocha shake. It's the same thing. The post-workout application is kind of like this post-workout meal replacement that manages blood sugar and curbs hunger. You do not need to take in extra sugar post-workout for whether it's for recovery. It's just not necessary, and we're trying to get people off of sugar. The health-conscious, health-minded person doesn't need to be taking added sugar in post-workout. It's not necessary.
Practically speaking as well, if most of your workouts are done in some type of gym setting, it's safe to assume that, you have a drive home, and then, if it's in the evening, you might take a shower before you sit down to eat a meal. So even again, that idea of acting as a bridge between meals, immediately after you work out, having a scoop of the UCAN with protein, get some protein in for the muscles, curb some of that stomach hunger. You get the super starch that keeps your blood sugar and your energy really even. When you sit down for dinner 90 minutes to 2 hours later, you're not going to want to eat your hand off. I mean, one of the first people to use UCAN, and in kind of interesting way that he uses it, was Meb Keflezighi, who's a four-time Olympian in the marathon, and Meb trains at altitude when he's in peak marathon training, and oftentimes from where he trains in the mountains, it's 40-minute to an hour drive back to his home, and then he's got his whole stretching routine. It might be 2 hours before he sits down and eats a meal, and for a runner at the elite level, they're extremely weight conscious. Very, very conscious about their nutrition, and very conscious about how different foods impact kind of their overall weight and body fat and all of those things. And for Meb, he really relies on a scoop of that UCAN with protein immediately after every one of his hard workouts, and it's really acting as a bridge between meals for him, in addition to the fact that he doesn't feel the same soreness the next day because he's not taxing his system and spiking his blood sugars, but he really is able to, I guess, keep away that ravenous hunger after workout by using a scoop of the UCAN with protein. But Seth, outside of the workouts, I want to also talk about this just in the context of overall health. So recently, there was two really fascinating studies just within the last year that were done on a formula that included the superstarch with protein. And one of these studies was with utilizing UCAN as a meal replacement. So can you kind of talk us through this and the study and sort of the implications even just for the general person?
So, I mean, so this study was using a combination of 15 grams of our UCAN and 15 grams of protein, really just like we've been talking about as a meal replacement shake. So you could have, this UCAN protein formula or even our vanilla cream UCAN as a breakfast shake. People take a packet of vanilla cream UCAN, blend it with ice. It beats a bowl of cereal, let me tell you that. Um, so in this study, there were three different groups that this is on 108 overweight and obese subjects, um, and the first group really used just a typical American Diabetes Association diet, carb controlled, and then the second group used 1 to 3 servings of this UCAN protein formula, and also the third group did that, except for they had a weekly coaching call, and A1C, which is a measure of diet, a diabetic marker of over usually over 3 months of average of glucose in the bloodstream, and um, A1C really to be a significant drop is sometimes zero point 0.5 over 16 weeks. You might see that in medications, and with this food, this slow release food, and these diabetic subjects, the average A1C dropped by 0.65. So this is all about UCAN has the ability to really, as a meal replacement, it has the ability to reset the metabolism in a way. And think about it, if every day your blood sugar is balanced, instead of having that bagel or that cereal, and you're having steady blood sugar and avoiding that spike in blood sugar, avoiding that sugar load in the body after those carbs have been turned to sugar, you're going to be healthier. Weight will start to come off usually, and we need to avoid these excess sugars in the diet that are usually hidden. Bagel turns to sugar, bread turns to sugar, so we have to start avoiding those. And remember, managing your blood sugars, not just for diabetics, it's the key to steady energy.
Seth, just one more. Just again, as we've been contrasting UCAN to different foods in the context of workouts, even in the context of just managing blood sugar throughout the day. This other study was interesting, comparing UCAN and the response of a superstarch formula with oatmeal. So take us through this one.
And this was again a study looking at 17 women and 7 men, 55 and a half years old, overweight, BMI was 38, and they had elevated blood sugar. Usually, above 100 is starting to be classified as prediabetes. And their A1C again was elevated, which we were talking about before, above 5.5% is prediabetes. And if you look at this curve, the UCAN protein formula causes a 15 milligram rise in blood sugar, stabilizing and then declining steadily. So a little bump in blood sugar, but then it's real stability. With the oatmeal rose blood sugar on 37 milligrams per deciliter, barely stabilizing for half an hour, and then at 60 to 90 minute mark, when blood sugar is dropping, that's what's triggering appetite right there, and that's what we're talking about. When blood sugar starts to drop, your brain's going, oh, sugar's low, need to eat, and it's that slow release of UCAN that's really managing your hunger and managing your energy.
So what's the point with showing some of these? It's kind of twofold. One of the ways is for people that have been tuned into thinking about UCAN and heard about UCAN in the context of endurance sports, you might think, hey, is this just another, powdered sports drink? But really, if you look at how UCAN's acting compared to certain foods that we consider to be energy sustaining, things like oatmeal, where almost everybody you talk to would easily tell you, yeah, oatmeal is healthier, it's a better option than Gatorade. UCAN is much more in that family, and from a blood sugar standpoint, response standpoint, even superior to things like oatmeal. It's much closer to that than it is to traditional sports drink. So it's really cool that this thing that you can use to fuel, your high intensity workouts, your endurance workouts, you can also really apply it in different ways throughout your day to help make you a healthier, a more fit athlete, or just a healthier and more fit person. And as we're talking about using UCAN as a meal replacement, if you want to use this as a true meal replacement, UCAN on its own is a fantastic energy source, and you pair it with protein, you're going to get the benefits of protein and that feeling of satiety. But in terms of if you want to use this and get other vitamins and nutrients, really this shake right here that can be made with either our chocolate or vanilla cream UCAN is a great option to use as a breakfast shake or to replace a meal at lunch. Scoop or even two of the vanilla cream UCAN that gets you the super starch plus some protein. You get a lot of nutrients from the spinach, Greek yogurt. If you want some additional protein, toss in some peanut butter, some cinnamon. You could use soy or some unsweetened almond milk. Remember, we're trying to keep the sugar low. And then if you want half a banana, even less, just for a little bit of flavor. This right here, this is getting you to probably around 350 to 400 calories. But this type of shake is something that'll really provide that steadiness and stability in your blood sugar for good 4 or 5 hours. So adding a variety of healthy ingredients, you could certainly have UCAN just on its own, but there's the opportunity to really benefit from UCAN as a complete meal replacement with recipes like these. And we have plenty more available. If you pop over to our website, generationucan.com, right on the navigation tab, you can download the UCAN recipe book, which has, I think, 30 or 40 complete recipes. Seth, anything to add here just about that idea of UCAN as a meal replacement?
Now, just think of it as a meal extender. When you add UCAN to an already protein shake, a Greek yogurt shake, it makes that shake last longer. And even if if you're having eggs for breakfast and you want to have UCAN on the way to work, it's gonna, for teachers, doctors, nurses, surgeons, people that can't break to eat, but you're dealing with that hunger in between meals. Use UCAN to manage that in between meal hunger.
So Seth, for somebody that is interested in using UCAN, say more from the health standpoint and perhaps a weight management standpoint, more so than for workouts, what's kind of a good way to get started? You've sort of developed this UCAN challenge, if you will. What's a good easy way for people to start implementing this into their day?
Well, I think that the fact is that the bridge between breakfast and lunch on average is usually smaller than lunch and dinner, right? So the snack bar is a great way to bridge breakfast and lunch together, having it at 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. And the whole point is you go into lunch with steady blood sugar instead of that drop in blood sugar that causes you to overeat. Kathy Yeckel, she's a researcher at Yale University, always describes lunch as the most evil meal of the day because what you eat at lunch determines your energy and your hunger the rest of the day. And so if you can go into lunch making the proper food choices, and then, as you start to get hungry and need some energy, between that 3 and 4 o'clock time, it's a perfect time to have UCAN. We know people are keeping a tub of UCAN at work. If you're more hungry, you might want to have the vanilla cream or chocolate UCAN that has more protein. But if you're just looking for that energy, you could simply have just a scoop of our Cocoa Delight UCAN blended, or just have it within a shaker bottle. And you'll notice how you feel that focus and steadiness at 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. time. If you're looking for that increased productivity from that 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. time when you're working later, there's nothing like a scoop of UCAN to help you there. And then you enter dinner again with that steadiness. You're entering meals with balanced blood sugar, and that means you're avoiding those stress-based carbs that we look to when we're trying to raise our blood sugar because we've waited too long to eat. And again, stress really can cause blood sugar fluctuation. So if UCAN's on your side, you're managing your blood sugar even if you have that work stress.
And Seth, I think the key thing that you touched on and that you kind of emphasized is that when we're talking about UCAN in this context of weight management, we're not at all advocating against having real nutrient dense food and just kind of replacing all your meals with UCAN. If you've noticed, a lot of the things that Seth was talking about was really using UCAN between meals as a tool to make better choices. So when you sit down for those meals, it's easier for you to eat the things that you should be eating, instead of kind of being prone to craving. So I think that's one of the really cool things here is that, this isn't there. There's a lot of, perhaps products that are viewed as weight loss products where it's just kind of trying to tell you that it's everything you need in a shake. But we're not really advocating that. If everything can come back to blood sugar management and controlling your blood sugar, you're going to set yourself up to have, in the context of workouts, get better results, in terms of the body composition side from your workouts. And then in the context of throughout the day, you're setting yourself up to make better choices when you do sit down for those meals. So it's perhaps a subtle difference, but I think a key difference in terms of how you want to think about and view UCAN. we'll just wrap up with just a couple of kind of summary slides here, Seth. So really, if we're talking about UCAN at its simplest, the uniqueness of the superstarch at its simplest, what should people leave here today with?
So I think the fact is that we know that we should look for carbs that are high in fiber, but again, because of UCAN's structure, this is non-GMO corn that's been cooked for over 40 hours, and the way it's cooked allows for the structure to break down slowly. We can think of UCAN acting like a fiber that's absorbed as energy. It's that slow release of energy. And again, this is a carb that's really curbing hunger in the brain. Remember, when your blood sugar drops, your brain goes, "Hey, sugar's low, time to eat again." If your blood sugar is managed and it's not having that drop, your brain is not having that hunger that causes cravings. And the big thing is that because insulin, that hormone we're talking about, that fat storage hormone, stays low. This is not storing as fat in the way typical carbs would, and in the same way, during exercise, we are allowing you to naturally burn fat as you would, even if you were in a state of not having food before you exercise, that fasted state. But you're getting energy in this way, and then UCAN is giving you energy without any blood sugar spike. You don't need a spike in blood sugar to create peak performance. Again, managing your blood sugar is really the key to managing your performance and having that steadiness throughout the day. So, yeah.
Awesome. And the final one, just in terms of a summary, in terms of UCAN, a lot of stuff that we talked about, but really sustains your energy and curbing your brain hunger by stabilizing blood sugar, like Seth said. That's the key. This is kind of geared towards trainers, but it can really help you transition and reduce refined carb intake and cravings. And then finally, combining UCAN with the protein shake, it can extend the effect of that shake and keep you full longer. So the calories, like we've talked about in UCAN, they're not exactly comparable to what you think you always might need because of that ability to maintain blood sugar. Seth, we did have one question from Anna over here. So a couple of questions that we're happy to answer. So Anna says, when racing and using UCAN for fuel, so this is an endurance related question, how do you get your electrolytes without needing the extra UCAN hydration drink? So Anna, I'll take that one. So we didn't mention this really, but all of the UCAN drink mixes, the generation UCAN, which you would use, probably the product you'd use the most for endurance training, they all do have electrolytes, both sodium and potassium. So depending on, kind of your individual sweat rate or, what climate you're racing in, for example, the electrolytes might be sufficient. What others will do if they do want to supplement is they'll either mix the UCAN hydrate, which is not something we talked about today. That's our electrolyte only product. It's kind of a complement to our energy products. They'll actually mix the UCAN hydrate in with their fuel to boost the electrolyte content of their drink, or you could just have the UCAN hydrate separately and sip on that in between servings of UCAN to get your additional electrolytes. But yeah, that is a key point to note that a UCAN, I think it's roughly 140 milligrams of potassium, I think, and maybe 180 or so milligrams of sodium per packet, which is pretty comparable to what you'd find in a traditional energy gel in terms of electrolytes. So you will get the electrolytes from the UCAN, and you may or may not need to supplement with additional electrolytes. But if you do, something like UCAN hydrate without sugar is the way that you're going to want to go. Brian asks, and Seth, I'll let you take this one. He says, talk about GI distress. This is something that a lot of people have surrounding exercise. Can UCAN help? So, Seth, how does UCAN, that's probably the biggest reason, at least for people running and triathlon and cycling, it's the biggest reason they perhaps first come to our product. How does UCAN help with GI issues?
Well, so the thing is that, we were talking about that banana, it all goes back to like the molecular weight, to take you back to like 10th grade chemistry. The larger a molecule, the higher the molecular weight, the quicker it passes through the stomach. UCAN weighs around 500,000 grams per mole. A banana weighs around 180 grams per mole. A lot of carbs in those gels, like maltodextrin, weigh anywhere between 1,000 and 2,000 grams per mole. So with that said, UCAN is such a large molecule, it passes through the stomach very rapidly, and we don't spend time in the stomach to even bother it. So A lot of folks doing morning workouts, they have UCAN before when they would usually avoid eating before because of that bloat they might feel, which you don't feel with UCAN at all.
Awesome. And I think for the endurance athlete, there's also that standpoint of when you're taking UCAN and it's not something you're sucking back 300 or 350 calories an hour of like you might with your traditional sugar-based fuel. So UCAN, we've gone through this kind of over the last hour, but UCAN, because of how it behaves differently than other carbohydrates, it's just very different in terms of the frequency of fueling and the frequency of use. So just practically speaking, we have so many endurance athletes that tell us when they're not getting off the bike, say in a half Ironman or an Ironman with, 1,000 to 2,000 calories of maltodextrin sitting in their gut. I mean, they simply just feel a lot better from a stomach standpoint because there's not all that sugar sitting in their gut. So hope that helped, Brian. Thank you so much for the question. Seth, it was fun. Glad to do this with you tonight. Thanks so much to everybody that joined us. You will get a full recording of this by email just here in a short while. And for everyone who got some new ideas tonight on how to use UCAN, we are extending a special discount to you all through the end of the week. You can use the code UCANBeFit for 15% off at our online store. I'm just about to post that in the chat, and you will get a copy of that code as well in the follow-up email. That's UCANBeFit, all one word, for 15% off at thegenerationucan.com/store. Just posted that in the chat. So, yeah, hope you guys got something out of this tonight. And Seth, thanks so much. We will do this again soon.
Great. Thanks, Varn.
All right. Have a good night, everyone. Thanks for joining us.